So let me get this straight. Trump banned Muslims, caged black and brown kids, and called Haiti a shithole, but somehow he's rolling out the carpet for white South Africans, who, mind you, claim they're being oppressed by the very people that they oppressed for generations. This is not refugee policy. It's plantation nostalgia, dressed up as immigration reform. This entire push to rescue South African farmers is built on a narrative, not facts. Yeah, there's some violence in South Africa. Yeah, some white farmers have been attacked. But the majority of the victims, they're not white. And the attacks aren't racially targeted. They're part of a broader crime crisis. South Africa has deep issues, yes. But this ain't some ethnic cleansing of white people. This lie got amplified by conservative media, white nationalist forums, and people who think land redistribution is oppression, when really it's just justice knocking on the door. So let's be honest about what this really is. It's America offering comfort to people who feel uncomfortable with equality. That's it. Because these so-called refugees are being fast-tracked for protection. Black asylum seekers from war-torn nations are being detained, deported, and ignored. They're not being offered farms and safety. They're being offered ICE and silence. This has never been about safety. It's about whiteness being treated like it's in danger anytime it's not in power. But here's what we're not going to do. We're not going to let people run from the consequences of apartheid, land here, and act like they're victims of a woke world gone mad. No. You don't get to gentrify racial trauma across borders. You don't get to weaponize your discomfort with progress and call it persecution. And if you're feeling displaced by land reform, good, because the land wasn't yours to begin with. So if you think Trump's weak attempt to play savior gives you the green light to come over here and start disrespecting people, think again, because the rest of us, we don't play like that. Go find you something safe to do, because bringing apartheid to a new zip code is the fastest way to find out this ain't the America you thought you were walking into. Stay safe.
So I have a question. I work with the homeless population, and I know for a fact that we still have plenty of veterans who are homeless and also U.S. citizens that are homeless. So I wonder how it makes you feel knowing that instead of getting services for the vets and for the U.S. citizens, that this administration has now welcomed white South Africans, and they're going to get all kinds of help from the government. And I want to know, for those who are cheering the horrific deportation or kidnapping, because really that's all it is kidnapping, because there's no court orders and these people are just grabbing people off the street. They're not identifying themselves. It's horrific. So that's my question. What does everybody think about the fact that now our government is bringing refugees from South Africa? And he said something along the lines of they have a rich, long history of all that they've done, and now the way that they're being treated is horrific. So I want to know, the American farmers here that have lost their farms, are those going to these refugees? Are they going to give those farms to the refugees? The people who lost their family farms. So that's my question. What do we think?
To the 50 Afrikaners who fled to the US, calling themselves refugees, you are not refugees. You are just a case study of white flight dressed up as martyrdom. You're not escaping violence, you're escaping equality. South Africa didn't chase you away. You ran. Yes, South Africa is one of the most violent countries in the world. Yes, brutality exists. But let's be honest, violence affects all communities, not just white farmers. Black, colored, Indian, and yes, white people are all targets of a national crime crisis. What we have is a breakdown in safety, not a white genocide. This is not ethnic cleansing, it's criminal collapse, and running to the US won't fix it. You are part of a 7% minority, but somehow still manages to control over 70% of the wealth. That is not persecution, that's privilege on a guilt trip. And let's be real, if we tried to relocate just half of the Afrikaans population, it would take decades, billions in logistics, and you'd still end up culturally homeless in a country that don't want your apartheid baggage. You're not brave, you're not victims. You're scared of a world where you don't get to be in charge, and that makes the rest of the Afrikaans community cringe, because you make us look weak. South Africa is broken, and it's our problem to solve. So if you don't have the spine to do so, stay gone.
So we've all heard what she's saying, and also there are videos out there of white South Africans also speaking about the issue, and the issue is the white immigration in America, or the white South African refugees who are being taken to America. We understand that there are some discrimination, there are violence against the white South Africans in South Africa, but this violence has also been manifested in other countries. We're talking about people who are actually pressed to that extreme part of the corner, that they have just exploded, that they are tired. We're talking about people who have been discriminated for years. It's an African country, but you are being discriminated. There are schools, white-only schools. There are restaurants, white-only restaurants. There are neighborhood, white-only neighborhood. That's the kind of system that you guys are created, or you guys created. And that is the system that is being fought back. And when the people will rise up against it, you feel like these people are being discriminated. I don't know which criteria Donald Trump used or Elon Musk used, but we know that Elon Musk has been fighting South Africa, I think, since they denied him a license, or the Starlink license. There are people really affected by, or there are people who are actually deserve to be given asylum status. Talk about people from Congo who are actually, due to the constant foreign interference in the country, that country has never known peace for decades. Talk about Southern Sudan. Talk about Sudan, where there is a fighting between the paramilitary and the military. There's bombing of actually refugee centers. There are women experience gender-based violence. Let's talk about Afghanistan, Iraq, where there are women fearing for their life because the general rule of the country, or the law of the country, doesn't favor a woman. So when a person sits down and decide that these few white race that needs asylum, and give them, okay, let's say you're giving them because they are white, not but because they are facing attacks. Those things happen. People are being attacked everywhere. There's crime everywhere. I've seen videos where people are saying that, this country will starve because they're chasing white farmers. Look at the country like Kenya, Kenya is the one largest producer of corn. They have farm produce. And we see the black people that are running some of these large pieces of land. Forget about the few white colonizers who actually managed to get the land to do farming. But we can say Africa is so independent that they can stand for themselves. They can fend for themselves. you know.
So if you've ever had trouble understanding white privilege before, this whole white Afrikaner refugee debacle might paint a clearer picture for you. This is happening at the same time the rights of others are being stripped away, ignored, and innocent people are being rounded up illegally, including those who have been protesting an actual genocide. Just to sum things up very quickly for you, there is no genocide happening in South Africa, and especially not a white genocide. There's never been a clearer example of imperialist, white supremacist hypocrisy. The very same folks denying genocide in Gaza are the ones believing that there is a genocide happening in South Africa. Apparently a genocide that targets only a specific group of white people, Afrikaners, within the various other white South Africans, who descended from many different groups such as the British, Greeks, Portuguese, Lithuanians. There are no claims of genocide against these white South Africans. Ask yourself why. What's really going on here? Now, I understand that many South Africans leave the country for better opportunities, and this applies to South Africans of all races. But peddling dangerous lies about the country, especially one pushed by alt-right, racist civil rights groups like AfroForum and shady ex-South African billionaires like Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Dave Sachs and Joel Pollack, is just wrong. It undermines the country and it disrespects the real suffering that many South Africans, again of all races, face because of violent crime and poverty in the country. Not to mention actual refugees fleeing an actual genocide. Just stop it. It is pathetic and embarrassing. And you should know better than sharing right-wing racist propaganda in 2025.
I have to read this. I think people tend to look at things the wrong way. We have Afrikaners. That said, I do feel for the people of Afghans and wrongly expedited Latinos. Really, I do. Just to get better perspective on the Afrikaners, that $7 billion has been lost to corruption since the ANC took over. Of that, almost $14 billion was lost under President Zuma's time as president during the Gupta state capture. For this, he received a light slap on the wrist. This infuriates South Africans who don't see justice being served. How many white-owned farms could have been bought of white farmers for redistribution during that time with that $7 billion? More importantly, how much of that could have been spent on black farmers getting land back, getting a proper setup, educational wise, to be able to farm those farms effectively? Even more importantly, how much of that could have been spent on education, creating jobs, proper policing, and fall of infrastructure? Farming in South Africa is tough. Not all lands are lush in minerals, rich, swarthy, or paradise. White farmers' sons and their sons and their sons and so forth, knowing the land intimately. Afrikaners are on the land, many of whom have been here for almost 400 years. Many of their offspring have degrees in agriculture from local universities, well versed in the lay of land, where science helps them to know what crops to grow through soil analysis, climate data, and meteorology, water availability and quality, agricultural research and extensive services, crop suitability and map zoning, and pest disease and risk management. That said, I'm not saying that black farmers haven't had this kind of education, although it's widely estimated that 50% of farms that have been distributed to black farmers have failed. Honestly, I don't think South Africans would mind having this land farmed by purple pongs from us, as long as they farmed successfully. Each family failures add to the economy woes we already feel as a nation, not least through corruption, but several mismanagement of the country. Let me not even talk about the hate speech, but apparently I do. Openly tolerated by our government against white people like Julius Malema of the EFF, where an independent court pronounced that he sang the song, Down the Farmers, which literally means white Afrikaners farmers at rallies of tens of thousands is considered okay. Isn't that inciting violence? or not, then what is what it is? Hate speech is not tolerated in our constitution, but apparently him singing that song is okay. Not sound from our president Ramaphosa to condemn this. Why? Because it takes spotlight of his government gross failures. Just remember, if South Africa fails disastrously, as Zimbabwe did, our neighbor to the north, once the breadbasket of Africa, when they chased out their white farmers, how will that affect the global supply chain? So yes, people are miffed. Africana haven't simply been here a few years. We've been here for almost 400 years. And at the moment, we are not having a say in how the country goes forward. And it's fucking frustrating watching the Titanic sink. So this is one of the comments that actually I received on the videos previously talking about the same issues.